Welcome to the Extraordinary Executives Podcast, where business owners like you share their experiences, insight, and lessons learned. So grab your cup of coffee or tea and get ready for an engaging conversation. Here's your host, Randy Jones.
Welcome to another exciting episode of Extraordinary Executives. I'm your host, Randy Jones, and we have another phenomenal guest here, Mr. RJ Kolton. He is the president and principal of Kolton Business Solutions, the chair of Vistage CEO Business Owner Advisory Board, and he is definitely an extraordinary executive. Hey, welcome, RJ. Thanks for being on the show.
Well, thanks very much for that very special introduction. Appreciate it.
Well, hey, look, here's what we'll do. We'll just jump right in and get started. So tell me a little bit about Kolton Business Solutions, and then, expand a little bit about Vistage CEO and Business Owners Advisory Board. Tell me how you got started. More importantly, why did you start your company and spread out into that as well?
Yeah, thanks for that. Well, first of all, I bring to bear 50 years of experience now, 26 years in the military and 24 years in business. So in the 24 years of business, I've served in a number of C-suite type positions with a diverse number of companies, everything from 11 years, 12 years with a publicly traded company to a variety of privately held, small, medium-sized, and diverse product and service offerings. And that also came on top of being an infantry officer and a military strategist for 26 years, including my time at West Point. So in this year, I decided to capitalize on that experience and do something different. So I formed my own company, and my consulting firm, called Business Solutions, focuses on helping primarily government contracting companies in tackling those tough issues to be successful and grow in that environment. And in addition to that, as an independent contractor and under the Vistage Corporation, I am the chair of a Vistage CEO Business Owner Peer Advisory Board. So, and that's what I'm doing, and it allows me to really leverage and capitalize on all that experience I've gained over the years to help business owners become better leaders, make better decisions, and achieve better results.
Yeah. So, it looks like you're not only talking the talk, but you're definitely walking the walk when it comes out there to talking and helping business owners grow their business and run their companies a lot better. So tell me, as the chair of an advisory group, what is your day-to-day role? Is it more of just growing the group and finding other entrepreneurs and business owners, or is it more behind the nuts and bolts of growing the organization? What is it that what's your current role in that?
Yeah. That's a great question. What I really like about this Vistage model, it's very unique. As a chair, my job is to understand the capacity, potential, goals of 12 to 16 members, CEO business owners in Northern Virginia, drawn from non-competing businesses, so the diverse businesses. And these are diverse owners as well in terms of gender, race, ethnicity, age. And we come together, and my job is to help facilitate and bring together this group so that they can understand and delve into their challenges and opportunities and find ways to accomplish their goals. And in doing that, there are really four elements of membership. One, I formed this group of peers, and they meet monthly. And part of that monthly meeting is to discuss issues of concern and interest and opportunities. There's also a guest speaker that comes in on a subject that they select. For example, it could be human resources and how do we recruit and retain our people better. Right. And then a really important part is to tackle the issues they've identified that they could share on, and it's done in a confidential setting. So the things that they cannot talk, even with their C-suite executives, they could share with one another. A key element of that also is one-to-one coaching. I meet with each member individually, monthly, and discuss issues of concern to them or opportunities of concern. And from that, some of the issues that come up merit bringing to this monthly meeting. So those are those three elements of the value proposition for membership. And then finally, each of the members have access to the entire reservoir of resources within Vistage. There are 27,000 members operating in 26 countries in the library of capabilities. I would say that, just to talk a bit more about Vistage, Vistage has been around since 1957, starting out as an organization where in Wisconsin, where they were able to, the founder was able to bring together CEOs, break away from their daily routine to talk about issues of mutual concern. And because they were not competing against one another, share ideas. And the data really does confirm this as an effective business model. According to Dun & Bradstreet, member companies grow 2.2 times faster than non-members. And in using 2020 data, the average company shrank by 4.7%, and member companies grew by 4.6%.
Right. So here's the thing: you work with companies from a lot of different vantage points, inside, on the outside, giving them guidance now to Vistage. So some of the people that are going to be listening to this, they're going to be talking about, how do I grow a team? And when you're bringing these CEOs together, these entrepreneurs together, and other business owners, what do you think is essential when it comes to them forming a team? Do they rely on each other, or do they outsource? Or what have you seen that works best when you're really trying to grow your advisory board, so to speak?
Yeah, you're talking about within a company itself, right?
Within a company itself, yeah.
Yeah. Every company is going to be different, and their products and service offerings are different. And that's a great thing about what I'll be doing, is because it's not just government contracting or construction, it's diverse. But one thing that all share are there are certain functions that any company has to perform, regardless of size. And that includes, they've got to provide quality services to their customers. They got to determine what they're offering and what products and services, and they got to continually to develop them. They got to perform that operational role to deliver those products and services. They got to do the business development and sales function. They got to do the accounting function, the finance function. And they got to do the contracting and all the administrative functions, and then the human resource aspects, recruiting, take care of their people. And then there are other aspects. Those are the key ones. Regardless of how many people actually perform those functions, as you begin to assign people, a high-performing team would have folks that are performing those functions in support of the company's goals, based on their strategic plan, based on their business plan. They all have a shared awareness and understanding where the company's headed and their specific role in that company, and they are masters of their function. They are experts. They are continually learning, and they're continually updating their skills. They're role models for their people. They're serving as mentors and coaches to the next generation, and they're delivering quality to their customers on a continuous basis, and they're constantly checking with customers to make sure they're satisfied. So to me, that's the definition of a high-performing team. Regardless of how many people you have performing those functions, it could be 100, it could be 5, but they've got to be done in that manner. So I think that's the critical aspect of team building.
I think what I heard you say was like, the vision and, the what direction, and being masters of their skill set that they have. I think it's really important, just from my experience in talking with other business owners, a business owner being really clear on what the future looks like for that company, and then making it so clear that people start to own that vision as if it were theirs, and being able to find their path on the path that the company's going. So I agree. The business owner initially wears a lot of hats, but as you start to take them off, making sure that everybody knows that we're playing for this team, and here's our goal, and here's how we get there, is really key to doing that. So tell me, just in your experience when you work with companies, and even when you have people come into, this advisory board setting, there are lots of different industries that join this, and lots of people. How, without saying, hey, here's what we're going to do with government contracting, here's what we're going to do with manufacturing, here's what we're going to do with, the retail business. What suggestions have you made to business owners and CEOs on how they can weather the storm? I mean, we're just coming through the pandemic, and a lot of people have had to pivot and adjust their business model. What have you seen that has been most successful when it comes to, giving advice along those lines?
That's a really good and insightful question. First of all, in any of my endeavors and in all the people I've talked to, I think that one thing senior leaders have to acknowledge, and do acknowledge, is change is constant and continual. It's just part of the reality of our work. And they have to be agile in their thinking and develop agile organizations that are resilient. In other words, they got to build into all their operations that there will be things that occur that they can't control. The dynamics at play are often beyond their control. They have to operate and deal with those. And so, well, how do you do that? And so, senior leaders, I would say there's 8 things, really 8. Senior leaders have to set ambitious goals that are also realistic and come up with excellent plans, which includes a schedule, milestones, and resources to achieve them.
Right.
They have to be standard bearers. Leaders at every level, starting at the top, have to be standard bearers in terms of integrity, work ethic, knowledge, behavior. They have to enforce high standards among their people. Leaders at every level have to mentor and coach that next generation. That's fundamental to any job, and that once again builds on the idea of being a high-performing team. The entire group has to embrace lifetime learning. You can't just say, I learned something yesterday and it's applicable to tomorrow, because it isn't true. Technology changes, socioeconomic conditions change, so change is inevitable. So how do you deal with it? You got to be constantly learning. You have to be continually stay focused on your customer. In the end, it's all about the folks you're serving. And so that has to be part of the game. And you got to constantly find ways to improve your product and service offerings, because you got to find that discriminating value proposition, or you're going to become commoditized, regardless of what industry you're in. And you can't manage growth of a company through the rearview mirror. It's got to be looking forward.
Right.
And then finally, I would say when it comes to people, if you keep all those in mind, the most common reason good people leave a company is because of poor leadership. And so if companies start experiencing a lot of turnover, they need to look in the mirror.
Right. Now you can talk to multiple different, multiple companies and giving them advice on how to improve or create efficiencies. But I'm sure even across industries, there are some common challenges that business owners run into. If you were to sort of limit it to maybe, 3 or 5, what do you see are the top challenges? Like based on the things that you said that every good company needs to have implemented and that they need to structure when it comes to hiring the right people and running their company, what do you see as the most common challenges that they run into?
Well, I do think that when anybody sets out to run a company or set up a company, a founder, they had a vision for what they wanted to achieve. Beyond the mission, what was their vision? What did they anticipate it looking like a few
Right.
years down the road? They have to make sure that vision's valid. So when you think about it, is it based on the products and service offerings they're offering? If that's there and they've got a clear understanding of where they want to be and they share that, they have to have a plan to execute it. And I would say, and this is sort of, you hear that all the time from the business schools and writers, many companies fail to come up with a good strategic plan and associated business plans, with very actionable objectives, metrics for performance that are both ambitious but also realistic. And they got to resource it. If you try to do too much and don't resource it, you're going to fail. If you don't do enough, you're not going to grow.
Right.
And I think that I get back to also people. Any company, may be manufacturing or if it's service oriented, you got to have good people. It's either on staff or the ones delivering the capability, the services or the products to the customer. They've got to be excellent. They're going to be trained. They got to be motivated. And I think those key elements, when you really look at it, would be the cause for success or not success. I like to tell company leaders when I meet with them and we talk about it, I said, when you really get down to it, anybody in the company on payroll, they're either on staff or they're actually out there with the customer. There's really 2 things people do in a company, 2 things. One, you're either taking care of your customers, meaning you are performing, you're delivering those capabilities, or 2, you're growing the company. Really, you get down to it, those are the 2 key things. And every player in the company needs to see where they fit. Because if you think about it, regardless of where you're in the company, you could be on the admin staff on contracting, making sure the contracts are done right. If you think about what you're doing, if you're in contracting, you're a contract specialist, you are helping that customer because you're making sure their invoices get processed, you're making sure that any kind of concerns on their contract is taken care of. But if you're also growing the company, you're making sure that the money's flowing in, that the contract's being adhered to. So everybody in the company should be able to identify where are they on 2 key things. I'm taking care of customers or I'm growing my company.
Wow. So, as you were saying that, I drew direct connection where you said, the business owner, has a vision regardless of their mission. What does it look like? And being able to directly tie that to each individual to say, here's how you're going to help us execute this vision, whether it be taking care of the company or taking care of our customers, and making sure that everybody's on the same page of that understanding as well as that message. So look, you said 50 years of experience, and you've seen good times and bad times in coaching, running, growing, and being a part of companies. If you were to look back, maybe 10, 15, even 20 years at a younger version of RJ, I what would you tell yourself, or what advice would you give yourself knowing where you are now? What would you say to RJ then?
That's a great question. I think I'd say to myself, be prepared for the professional business climate changes that are going to occur and
Mm,
that the unknown unknowns.
right.
I'd say be ready to change your professional position at the right time because sometimes that comes and you got to know when to do it. Continually learn new skills while sustaining knowledge on your current skills because once again, I've had to learn so much, do new things every day, and I'm very thankful for the great people I've worked with that helped me get there. And I'd say continually develop your personal network and relationships. I think that's been such an enriching aspect of the job that I've had is to be around great people at all levels of an organization.
Right.
It really makes your life fulfilling.
Wow. Being around great people at all levels of the organization is key, which, leads me to the question of, being the chair of a Vistage organization where it's, CEO, business owner, advisory, peer group, who's going to be ideal? What's the sweet spot? When people listen to this and they're trying to make a decision like, hey, I need a team and right now I can't afford one, but I'd like to be in the room where it happens, so to speak, who would be ideal for, this advisory board or the program that you provide?
That's a great question. I'm really glad you asked it. Um, I am looking for a group of intrepid pathfinders. I'm looking for bold, audacious individuals who are just prepared to be trailblazers, overcome those barriers. So there's a philosophical underpinning to that. And people that have founded companies or run companies generally have those skills or have that kind of philosophy. I'm looking for those that are in diverse, non-competing businesses, and that's my challenge, is to make sure I select among the various folks to make sure that it allows for diversity in my group. Range in size from 15 to 150 million, so these are small to medium-sized businesses, or are positioned to meet those metrics. I'm seeking diverse business owners, age, gender, racial, ethnicity, background, because that mix of diversity, as we know, enriches the group discussions and learn from one another. I'm seeking members that really are enthusiastic about being part of a peer group, where they can understand the value of being around folks that operate in the same realm they are, so they can form those kind of relationships. I'm seeking members who have a deep interest in learning, improving, and being better than they are today. And some folks don't want to do that. And those that do, that's my kind of person. And finally, I'm seeking folks that are interested in one-to-one coaching with me so that I can really help them achieve their goals.
Mm, mm. People would often ask me who's my ideal client, and I notice you sort of describe both ways. I would say my ideal client is a person who has a desire for greatness more so than money. But then I also had to give them the metrics, so it's good to understand that. 15 to 150 million people. So I guess, outside of more people joining your peer advisory group, what do you think would be the one thing that would move the needle in RJ's business? I mean, you have a consulting company, you got involved in this because you really want to help companies grow and people have success when they're running their companies. What would move the needle in your business, RJ?
Well, at this point, where I am right now is to build my group. When we talk about realistic goals and aspirations, right now I want to launch my group in December. So I really need to find the right members ready to go. And that's number one. And I've given you the attributes I'm looking for. After that, or in the middle of that, is I need to understand them. I understand the people I'm going to be working with so I can be all I can be to help them.
Mm,
And then once we're developing it over the next several months and working together, it's to be there and to continually be apprised and understand where folks want to go and help them get there. So I think that will move the needle.
So now here's the thing. We talked about a lot of stuff, but because you have such a vast reach as well as experience in all aspects of running, starting, growing, and continuing to maintain and manage companies, for those who are listening, I mean, because you gave a lot of great nuggets, but I'm just a business owner listening to this, no matter what size I am. What last word of advice would you give to somebody who's listening to this when they're saying, hey, I want to be great and I really want to have this company grow? What would you tell them?
It's a great question. I'll look inside, and I do think I would say this. Know your passions and apply them to guide your professional personal life. Know your gifts and build on them to be a better person. Know your shortcomings and continually work to improve on them. Embrace a growth mindset and be grateful for everything you have. Don't embrace negativism. Know and live your values. That's critical. Know and live your values. Take care of and mentor the next set of leaders and employees. Grow that next generation of people. That's an essential role of any leader. And be the best possible servant leader in your company and member of your community and your family. And I think that's a recipe for all of us to be successful in life and happy.
Outstanding. Amen. I mean, you've taken a lot of my sayings. I often tell people we're going to assess your values before we value your assets. So, I mean, I think that's key in making things run. Hey, thanks again, RJ, for joining us. We've been talking to RJ Kolton. He is the president and CEO of Kolton Business Solutions. He is the chair of Vistage CEO Business Owner Advisory. He cares about his people. He has a passion for growing business. And definitely, he is an extraordinary executive. Thanks a lot, RJ.
Thank you.
This podcast is for informational purposes only. Guest speakers and their firms are not affiliated with or endorsed by past, Guardian, or Financial Growth Partners, and opinions stated are their own. Randy is a registered representative and financial advisor of Park Avenue Securities, LLC, Pass, OSJ 11350, McCormick Road, Suite 202, Hunt Valley, Maryland 21031, 410-828-540. Securities products and advisory services offered by Pass, member FINRA, SIPC, financial representatives of the Guardian Life Insurance Company of America, Guardian, New York, New York. Pass is a wholly owned subsidiary of Guardian. Financial Growth Partners is the DBA name of IAPA LLC, a wholly owned subsidiary. Guardian 2022-142821, expiration 824.